you tired of letting excuses, fear, and self-doubt keep you from moving forward with passion and purpose? Join me, Lisa Malcolm, as I connect you to the unstoppables, the go-getters, the change makers, and the ones who took a chance on living their best life by doing what they love. It's time for a kick in the yes. Welcome to Kick in the Yes podcast. I'm so happy you're here. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you can get the latest episodes as they're released. Now let's get started. Having to figure out what's next after a 15-year career with the same company and you're in your late 50s could be a little stressful. No, very stressful. Now imagine you're walking into work one day and you get blindsided or unpleasantly surprised by the news that due to consolidation, we no longer need your services. Welcome to the real world. And unfortunately, this is something that's happening quite too often. My guest today is going to talk about all of this and more. So I'd like to welcome Joe Chafee, a 15-year veteran with Comcast NBC Universal, to the show. And we're going to chat about topics like aging out, layoffs, and what his life is like after Bravo. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Joe, I'm so excited to have you here today because so many people who, whether they've worked for a corporation for a long time and they've gotten laid off or they've been looking for employment, I think this show is going to be inspiring to them because there is life after layoffs. And I think your story can inspire others. So let's get started. Joe, tell us a little bit about your background.
I worked at Bravo starting in November of 2003. Fast forward to 2018, I worked my way up to senior online editor and team leader. I had a staff of 4 and was in charge of editing final product delivery for broadcast. I worked on the Real Housewives franchise, Top Chef, and Keeping Up with the Kardashians for E-Network.
Wow, very impressive. That's a bummer that they consolidated, but it's a very common theme that's happening a lot today. Did you have any idea that you would be let go from the company?
We were absolutely shell-shocked. We had no idea. And it wasn't until my boss walked past my office on the way to the 34th floor. She said, something's going down, and that was that.
Yeah, that's the sad part. And I really wanted to have you on the show to talk about this because, again, it's happening all over. And I want to share some signs you might want to put on your radar because, as we all know, rumors fly. So if you're sitting in your office and you're wondering, what's going on in your neck of the woods, see if any of this pertains to you. Are you hearing conversations about consolidation near the water cooler? Are you scheduled for a review? Have you been told, wow, you've been here so long? Did management request a list of your duties? Have you heard you're overqualified? Joe, are there any tips or advice you can give to someone that they can be aware of?
One tip is to always find a resource where you can obtain the lowdown on what's going on in your industry.
Good advice. And Bravo for 15 years with the same company. You really don't see that anymore.
It was an incredible opportunity. It was an amazing experience. The hardest part when it ended was saying goodbye to people, the heartache of saying goodbye to people you'd been with for a very, very long time. Turnover was very, very low. And when you establish those relationships, it's really tough to say goodbye.
The layoff must have been a huge culture shock to your system.
Yes, it really, really was. One thing I want to point out to your listeners is there is a time to grieve. Definitely take time to mourn the loss, but don't spend too much time doing it.
They were like family to you, and I know that because you mentioned it to me before. You're working with these people for 15 years. You're with them all day, and they do become like family. So How did you recover from this? I mean, it was a loss of friendships, and maybe not loss because I'm sure you kept the friendships, but you weren't with them every day. So how did you recover from that?
That was actually really the hardest part. But I did have a side hobby. A really good friend of mine got me into working with ceramics. And 2 years ago, we all took a trip to Sedona, and I'd given a friend a Hanukkah cactus with lights in it, and it had Stars of David's on it. And the next thing I knew, a year later, I was a featured artist at the Andrea Smith Gallery in Sedona. So on my last day in October of 2018, I got a phone call from the gallery saying, we want 20 pieces.
Wow.
Send them. And the next thing you know, kept me occupied while I was struggling through the loss of that long-term job and really the loss of a work family.
How strange the day that you're leaving your job, you get that call for 20 pieces of art. Which then my next question to you would be, did you think about going into art full time as a career? I mean, did you think at that point, I have a hobby, I like to do this, could I make that my next gig? Did you ever think about that?
I really enjoyed editing. I really did. And working on ceramics, painting, glazing, that was just fun. That was a relief.
Do you still do it?
Yep.
The hobby seems to have been a therapy for you,
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. It's been over a year since you've departed from the company. Share some things you've learned since you left the job. Are there any tips that you can give people that may help them through this difficult time?
Keep moving forward, and along the way, make sure that you have established meaningful relationships with everyone that you meet.
I think that's very important too, because you never know when you may need help from that person in the future. So good advice.
That brings me to the next one, which I think is incredibly important. Pay it forward, no matter what. People will remember you for helping them.
Yeah.
Pay it forward. You would be surprised at the number of people who've come out of the woodwork to say, what can I do for you?
Right. Just saying to someone, how can I help, is all you need to do. And listen, because you may be able to help somebody whether you had that intent or not, but just being a friend, and you may have a contact. You may have heard something from someone that they're looking for someone with your skills. Yeah. I think that's really important.
Definitely come from a place of yes and ask for help if you need it. The next one, while plan A is going well, have a plan B and a plan C.
So I have to ask this question. Did you have a plan B or C?
Yes.
Well, that's good, because I think it's important always, have plan B, plan C, but also save, because you don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. You should always be saving because you never know.
That was my next one. Whatever you can, you just don't know what's going to happen. Save what you can. And along the way, don't forget that no matter how old you are or how young you are, whatever experience you have, there's value to that. Don't ever forget that.
Experience equals value. Don't lose sight of that. Next.
Boy, don't be afraid to reinvent yourself. I was a mortgage banker. My job ended. I didn't want to do that anymore. I worked nights at a post-production facility, kept my day job while I wanted to transition. And the next thing I know, I'm working on A Different World, step by step, a whole bunch of 80s, 90s shows. Fast forward, I'm working for a network like Bravo, Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
All the shows I love. Reinvent yourself is huge. And what's interesting is there's a parallel here. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm always reinventing myself. And you come from the corporate world. and you're seeing how, you reinvented yourself and you're having to do it again. But I think this just shows that it doesn't matter how old you are or where you are in your life. Just always have the will and the courage to take a leap and believe in yourself, to try something new and put yourself out there.
I'm still editing now. I'm in a new medium. I'm doing audio editing for podcasters. And I know how important that is in this digital age. People are consuming content in so many different ways. And I'm here to help them achieve quality show.
I have to tell everyone how Joe and I met. I took a podcasting class from the fabulous Jackie McDougall. And she also hosts 40 Thrive podcast. And she introduced me to Joe. Friends, he's the one that makes this show sound great. He is my partner in crime and my audio editor. So you won't be hearing any of my multiple so's or likes or any funny sounds in my shows. I'm just glad that you reinvented yourself, because I feel like I am the lucky one that gets to work with you now. Let's move forward and talk about some tips and advice for people who are out there looking for a new career, because I don't care how old you are. It's a jungle out there, and I think everything that we're talking about today, all of us can relate to. Joe, I'm going to give the floor to you.
Believe in yourself and trust in your experience. Reinvent yourself as best you can. Embrace your side hustle or your hobby. But I think the most important thing is reach out to those around you and be reminded of what you're great at. What happened with me is last year, my good friend Jackie McDougall reached out in January and said, hey, listen, you know how to edit. You want to edit for my 40 Thrive podcast? And through that contact, I found out that I love dialogue editing, and it's really what I wanted to do. I totally found my happy place just by saying yes.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So you're 58. Do you feel like aging out is something you'll have to worry about from this point forward?
Nope. I have a new skill now, a new medium, and I'm meeting really great people, including you.
Hey.
Who knew?
Right. Who knew is right. I mean, you never know where the connection is going to come from and how great it's going to be. Keep an open mind, people. When you trust in someone and they're going to connect you to someone else, there's a reason. So have faith. A couple more tips I just want to bring to the table too, and we've talked about it. Know your strength. Know your strength. Know what you're good at and amplify it. Show the world who you are and what you're all about, and be fearless. Age is an asset.
I couldn't agree more. I really and truly couldn't. Everybody's got something to offer no matter what stage of life they're in.
Yep.
I really do. And, hey, listen, I'm not going anywhere. 50's the new 40.
Oh, no, I think it's 50's the new 30. And I love that because I haven't aged in I don't know how long. And I'm really happy with 50's being the new 30s.
Cripe sakes, then I'm 38.
Yeah, it's good. Yay. Okay. I love this show. I thank you. I am so happy that you were here. And everybody who's listening, please remember there's no such thing as aging out as long as you continue to grow and never stop learning. This has been such a great conversation. Joe, I thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And I'm glad you found your happy place and your passion. And I am so thrilled to be on the receiving end as you make Kick in the Yes sound so great.
I'm happy to be part of your team. Kick in the Yes, people. Kick in the Yes!
Thanks so much for listening. If you have an inspiring Kick in the Yes story, I want to hear from you. Send me an email at hello@kickinthes.com and maybe I'll feature your story on the podcast. Till then, always remember, knock out the no and tune into success.